Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Blocker.
Dan Blocker came into this world as Bobby Dan Davis Blocker on December 10, 1928, in DeKalb, Texas, a day that would eventually shake up Hollywood in ways nobody saw coming. He grew up in the rough Texas hills, a place that shaped him with grit, loyalty, and that deep family bond Texas folks take seriously. Even as a kid, Blocker carried this wild mix of raw strength and soft-hearted charm, a combo that later made his on-screen characters unforgettable. Before fame even thought about knocking on his door, Blocker was living with straight-up honesty and purpose. Standing around 6'4" and weighing close to 300 pounds, he was the definition of a gentle giant. His parents ran a small general store in O'Donnell, Texas, and that little spot is where he first learned what real work felt like and why community mattered so much. He went on to study at Texas Military Institute and later enrolled at Sul Ross State Teachers College, where he didn't just show up, he stood out. He handled his classes like a pro and made serious noise on the football field too. His drive and natural talent had classmates looking at him with genuine respect. He wrapped up a degree in English and then leveled up even further with a master's degree in dramatic arts. All these early pieces of his life built up discipline, passion, and real direction. Before Hollywood ever knew his name, Blocker served the country with pride during the Korean War. He was drafted into the U.S. Army and worked his way up to infantry sergeant, gaining a deeper understanding of sacrifice, leadership, and real courage. Blocker would often explain that his time in the war changed how he saw the world and sharpened his empathy for people around him. Those who served beside him described him as someone with steady integrity, quiet, strong, and unfailingly kind, even when things got rough. When he finally came back home to Texas, he stepped into teaching, sharing his passion for literature and history with his students. But destiny clearly had a different plan waiting for him. His journey to Hollywood wasn't smooth, and it definitely wasn't fast, but he refused to back down. By the late 1950s, he started picking up small roles in TV shows like The Rifleman, Gunsmoke, and The Restless Gun. These parts were small, but they marked the beginning of something big. His natural vibe, down-to-earth charm mixed with that massive frame made casting directors take notice instantly. Everything flipped in 1959 when he landed the role of Hoss Cartwright in Bonanza. This wasn't just the role that made him famous, it became the heartbeat of his whole career. Hoss, the warm and good-natured middle Cartwright brother, reflected who Dan truly was: gentle, funny, compassionate, and anchored by strong morals. Viewers felt that sincerity right away. Blocker's performance gave Bonanza the emotional punch that balanced all the action and wild frontier moments. And the audience loved it so much that Bonanza turned into one of the longest-running and most successful TV shows ever, staying on air for a massive 14 seasons. From 1959 all the way to 1973, Blocker showed up in a massive 415 episodes of Bonanza, becoming a true TV legend before his unexpected passing in 1972. During those years, he didn't stand out because of loud swagger. He stood out because of his honesty, kindness, and straight-up humanity. Fans and critics kept praising him for bringing a rare kind of warmth to a genre usually packed with tough guys and rough edges. With Hoss often being the emotional backbone of the whole series, people respected him just as much off-screen. Co-stars like Lauren Green, Michael Landon, and Pernell Roberts regularly talked about Blocker's integrity, calling him the moral center of the cast, someone who never let fame twist his character one bit. His reputation wasn't built on noise, but on how real he was every single day. His personal life had that same depth and loyalty. Dan Blocker's marriage to Dolphia Parker Blocker is still seen as one of Hollywood's most sincere and lasting love stories. Their whole journey started long before the bright lights of success, back when they were just students at Sul Ross State University in Alpine, Texas. Right from the beginning, their connection was built on shared values: respect, kindness, and a love for simple living instead of flashy Hollywood glamour. They got married in 1952, way before Bonanza turned Dan into a household name. Their wedding was just like them, simple, genuine, and filled with heart. At that time, Dan was still piecing together teaching jobs and small acting gigs to take care of their young family. Through every challenge and every moment of doubt, Dolphia stood right beside him, giving him strength with her steady belief in his talent and future. Her quiet confidence pushed him forward when the road felt heavy, helping him stay locked in on his dream long before success ever came knocking. And when Dan's career finally broke open in the late 1950s and exploded with Bonanza, Dolphia remained the one who kept him grounded and real. She stayed far from the spotlight, choosing instead to focus on their home and raise their children with steady love and patience. While Dan spent long days and long nights on set, friends would point out that despite all the fame coming his way, he stayed humble and family first, a clear sign of Dolphia's calming influence and the stability she brought into his world. Together they raised 4 children, twin sons David and Dirk, and daughters Deborah Lee and Dana Lynn, and their home stayed full of love, routine, and strong values. That same energy shaped Dan Blocker as a man and as the legend fans adored on screen. The Blocker household was known for warmth, laughter, and a smooth, easy kind of joy that made the place feel grounded and real. Dan often said it was DOA who kept everything balanced, no matter what Hollywood tossed their way. Even as his popularity shot through the roof, he refused to let the industry change how he treated his wife or their kids. He talked about her with real affection, calling her the biggest blessing of his life and the person who kept his feet on the ground. Their marriage held strong through the chaos of the entertainment world, long filming days, public attention, and non-stop demands, yet their relationship never wavered. Dan's loyalty to DOA was something everybody in the business knew about. While other actors got caught up in Hollywood nightlife and endless events, Dan would be heading straight home the moment filming wrapped, choosing peaceful evenings with his family over fancy industry gatherings. And in the world of TV westerns, few shows ever hit the level of success that Bonanza did, staying popular for more than a decade and pulling in viewers week after week. The story of the Cartwright family, Ben Cartwright and his sons Adam, Haas, and Little Joe, kept the audience hooked, looking united and tight on screen. But behind the scenes, things could get a lot more complicated. One of the most tense relationships backstage was the one between Dan Blocker, who played the gentle, good-natured Haas Cartwright, and Pernell Roberts, the serious and sharp-minded actor behind Adam. Dan, a former teacher and Army veteran from Texas, earned deep respect for his kindness, loyalty, and laid-back personality. He honestly didn't have it in his DNA to hold grudges. Even someone as patient as Blocker found it tough dealing with Roberts at times. Their tension wasn't about stealing the spotlight or arguing over fame. It came from their totally different personalities and views on what the show should be. Roberts was outspoken, blunt, and often irritated with the writing on Bonanza, saying it didn't dig deep enough or tackle real issues. He didn't hold back when it came to challenging producers or calling out scripts he felt were predictable. Blocker, on the other hand, believed in showing professionalism and respecting the series that had given all of them a powerful career boost. To him, Robert's steady stream of complaints felt ungrateful, like he didn't respect the cast and crew who worked hard every day. In one conversation, Blocker said, "Pernell thought he was smarter than everyone else. Maybe he was, but that doesn't give someone the right to treat others poorly." Blocker admitted that working with Roberts sometimes felt like he was stepping around eggshells, especially when Roberts refused to rehearse lines he considered beneath him. For Blocker, who always took pride in being cooperative and team-focused, this attitude clashed completely with everything he believed in. He often reminded people around him, "This set is like a family," and he made it clear that a family shouldn't be tearing each other down in front of folks who show up ready to work. But as the years rolled by, the gap between their mindsets just kept getting wider. Roberts wanted out, feeling boxed in and creatively stuck, while Blocker saw Bonanza as something truly important, a show bringing positive, wholesome stories into homes across America. Blocker once explained that Roberts thought Bonanza was too moral, too straightforward, too gentle. But Blocker believed that was exactly what audiences were looking for in a world full of stress. He said people needed a little goodness in their lives, and he couldn't understand why Roberts didn't see that. Even with all their disagreements, both men were fiercely dedicated to giving honest, believable performances. That commitment showed up on screen every time, even when their personal relationship stayed tense behind the scenes. Pernell Roberts came from that polished, classical acting world,
treating every role like a serious puzzle that needed perfect precision and deep thinking. Dan Blocker came in with pure instinct, honesty, and a natural presence that felt real the moment he stepped on camera. Their whole vibe was mind versus heart, and that sharp contrast became a big part of what gave Bonanza its special spark.
Their backstage disagreements could get heated, but they never turned physical or out of control. People on set knew Blocker had a hard time meshing with Robert's intensity. Michael Landon once explained that Dan kept trying to stay calm, but Roberts had a way of pushing people right to their limit. When Roberts walked away from the show in 1965, Blocker felt a mix of relief and regret at the same time. He later said, "I never wished him harm, but I was glad to stop fighting." After Roberts left, the whole mood on set lifted, and Blocker's upbeat energy started shining again. Still, a little tension stayed in the air, and Blocker admitted Roberts was brilliant, but his bitterness made life difficult for everyone around him. With time, Blocker's frustration softened, and Roberts moved on to theater and continued fighting for the social issues he cared about. Even though the two never patched things up before Blocker's sudden passing in 1972, Blocker still spoke about Roberts with a tired kind of respect. Later in life, he reflected on their clash and said, maybe he was right to want more, but he forgot to appreciate what he already had. That complicated connection between them still stands as one of TV's most fascinating behind-the-scenes stories. A clash between two talented actors who both loved their craft but had completely different ideas about what true artistry should look like. Blocker's frustration didn't come from pure anger. It came from real disappointment. He felt let down that someone he respected for their sharp mind could also be so distant, so critical, and so emotionally shut off. In the end, their paths went in totally different directions. Blocker became celebrated for his warmth, generosity, and easy camaraderie, while Roberts became known for his fierce independence and his refusal to bend for anyone. Both men shaped Bonanza in their own powerful ways, but it was Blocker's authenticity that kept connecting with audiences long after the show was over. Blocker once put it in plain words, "You don't have to like everyone you work with, but you should at least try to respect them." Then he added, "Purnell never gave us that chance," a line that revealed how deeply the situation affected him. Then tragedy struck on May 13, 1972, and the world was stunned by the sudden loss of Dan Blocker. Known everywhere for his role as the beloved Hoss Cartwright on Bonanza, he passed away in Inglewood, California, at just 43 years old. His death left a heartbreaking void in Hollywood, and among millions of fans who admired not only his acting, but also the genuine warmth he carried in real life. The official cause of his passing was a pulmonary embolism, a sudden, devastating blockage in the lungs that hit shortly after what was supposed to be a simple gallbladder surgery at Daniel Freeman Memorial Hospital. He had gone in for a routine procedure, something expected to be straightforward, with no real signs of danger attached to it. Neither he nor his doctors believed there was anything risky about it. But after the surgery, everything took an unexpected and tragic turn. A blood clot formed, traveled up into his lungs, and cut off his oxygen, triggering cardiac arrest. His family later confirmed the devastating news, and early reports laid the situation out in clear, painful terms. Dan Blocker entered the hospital for a standard gallbladder surgery, developed a blood clot in his lung, and passed away as a result. The loss hit everyone hard: family, friends, co-workers, and fans who felt like they knew him personally because of the kindness he brought to every role. His passing marked an end of an era, and Hollywood felt noticeably dimmer without his steady, generous presence. That short, heartbreaking sentence captured the shock and disbelief surrounding his passing, especially for a man known for his incredible size, steady strength, and peaceful spirit.
Blocker had become the moral heart of Bonanza, so losing him felt unreal, almost impossible to accept. His death wasn't just a painful loss for his wife, Fee, and their 4 children, David, Deborah, Dana, and Dirk, who later stepped into acting himself. It also crushed his second family on the Bonanza set. The cast and crew were shaken to their core. Lorne Greene, who played Ben Cartwright, reportedly broke down in tears when he heard the news, calling Blocker's passing the end of an era. Michael Landon, one of Blocker's closest friends, was especially hard hit. His grief ran so deep that he later rewrote parts of Bonanza to honor the loss of his longtime co-star and dear friend. But Dan Blocker's life was never defined by ratings, awards, or how famous he was. What made him unforgettable were his quiet virtues: honesty, compassion, resilience, and this simple belief that kindness still mattered in a world obsessed with ego and ambition. He stood out not because he wanted attention, but because he stayed true to himself every day. His story didn't start in Hollywood or anywhere glamorous. It began in the dusty, hard-working corners of Texas, where effort wasn't optional, it was expected. Those early mornings, stocking shelves, helping out neighbors, and watching his parents serve the community taught him something powerful. Respect isn't earned by applause, but by how you treat people. Those lessons stuck with him for life. Throughout his life, he kept circling back, whether knowingly or not, to the roots that shaped him. It didn't matter if he was on the football field, teaching in classrooms full of students, serving during the war in Korea, or standing under bright studio lights surrounded by cameras and producers. The same Texas spirit stayed solid inside him. Even when fame came knocking, he didn't chase it or brag about it. He just accepted it calmly and kept his loyalty locked on to the people and values that truly mattered. When he stepped into the role of Haas Cartwright, a character built on kindness, humor, loyalty, and strong principles, audiences instantly sensed something real. Haas wasn't just a character he played, he was a reflection of the man himself. Blocker didn't need dramatic monologues or flashy acting tricks to make people feel something. He brought pure warmth to the screen, and millions of homes felt that sincerity every week. Haas reminded viewers of the type of person they wished they knew, or the type of person they wanted to become. And off-screen, Blocker didn't perform goodness for attention, he lived it. People on set often turned to him for guidance, even though he was never officially labeled as the leader. He became that figure naturally because of how he moved through the world. His co-workers respected him deeply because he treated everyone with real dignity, the same dignity he learned back in that small Texas store where his parents taught him what respect really meant. He didn't care about hierarchy, drama, or trying to look important. Success never twisted him or act above others. Instead, it opened up more space for him to bring positivity into other people's lives. And that's exactly why the tension with Pernell Roberts hit him so hard. Blocker wasn't built for needless conflict. He lived by fairness, patience, and respect, so dealing with someone who shut him out emotionally was a heavy experience he carried quietly. His frustration never came from rivalry or jealousy. It came from sadness, plain and simple. He couldn't stand watching real brilliance get buried under layers of cynicism. Blocker had deep respect for intelligence. He used to teach after all, and he valued sharp thinking. But he couldn't wrap his head around the emotional toughness that sometimes came with Roberts' attitude. When Roberts brushed off scripts or talked down about the show, Blocker didn't hear artistic frustration. He heard something else. He heard a lack of gratitude. To him, disrespecting the work meant disrespecting all the people behind it, the writers, the camera crew, the makeup team, the stagehands, everyone who gave their time every day to bring Bonanza to life. Blocker wanted harmony more than anything. He wanted decency. He wanted a workspace where disagreements were allowed, but never used as weapons. Hollywood can be a breeding ground for ego, but Blocker believed talent and humility should live side by side. And while Roberts fought hard for his artistic independence, Blocker fought for emotional unity. Their conflict was never about right or wrong. It was two completely different visions of what art and work were supposed to be. One rooted in philosophy, the other in humanity. That tension revealed something deeper about Blocker's character. He valued people more than ideas. He believed creativity should lift people up, not push them away. So when the set finally felt peaceful after Roberts' departure, Blocker didn't feel triumph. He felt relief. Not because a rival was gone, but because the environment no longer felt like a battlefield of clashing ideals. Peace meant more to him than being proven right, and respect meant more than getting validation.
His personal life reflected that same devotion to stability and kindness. His marriage to Doria wasn't some Hollywood fairy tale crafted for cameras. It wasn't built for magazine covers or press stories. It was a partnership grounded in shared values, quiet loyalty, and steady support. She wasn't the wife of a celebrity. She was the partner of a man who just happened to become famous. Together, they built a life shaped by purpose, not showmanship. She kept him steady during every moment of uncertainty, and he treasured her more than any award or paycheck. Their home matched everything he believed in: simple, joyful, grounded, and always filled with laughter. Inside that space, he wasn't Haas Curtright. He was just Dan. Dan the husband, Dan the father, Dan the man who wanted to read to his kids, fix things with his hands, and sit down for dinner with his family instead of chasing parties or industry events. And the most heartbreaking part of his entire story is how abruptly it ended. The idea that a man so full of life, someone strong, towering, and steady, could be taken away by something silent and invisible like a blood clot felt unreal to everyone who loved him. His strength made him seem untouchable, and that sudden loss shook people in a way they never forgot. The suddenness of his passing sent shockwaves through every community he touched. His family lost the steady center of their world. His castmates lost a real friend, and his audience lost a rare symbol of goodness during a time when people were desperately searching for it. Michael Landon, who usually kept his emotions locked away, couldn't hold back his grief. Lorne Greene said it felt like the end of an era, and in many ways he was right. America mourned deeply, because losing Dan Blocker meant losing someone who stood for something rare. Proof that decency still existed in the world that often chased power and glamour. His absence forced Bonanza to confront an impossible question. How do you keep a family story alive when its heart is suddenly gone? That question stretched far beyond television. It reflected something bigger. What happens to a society when kindness fades? Who steps in to fill the empty space? Blocker's death didn't just leave sorrow behind. It left a challenge to carry forward the values he lived by every day, not through grand speeches, but through small gestures that define real character. Patience, respect, loyalty, humility, generosity. These weren't just ideas Blocker talked about. He lived them through his presence, through the way he treated coworkers, fans, and complete strangers. He honored every opportunity he was given and respected everyone who helped him along the way. To him, entertainment wasn't a tool for ego. It was a gift meant to brighten households, spark laughter, and remind people that simple goodness still holds real power. In the end, Dan Blocker's story isn't about fame. It's about humanity. His legacy isn't measured by how many episodes he filmed or how high Bonanza ranked in the ratings. It's measured by the countless hearts he impacted, simply by being a gentle man in a world that often wasn't gentle at all. People remember more than the actor. They remember a rare symbol of what it means to be strong without being harsh,
successful without being arrogant, intelligent without putting people down, and influential without chasing attention. They remember a soldier who believed in peace, a teacher who believed in empathy, a performer who believed in authenticity, and a family man whose greatest loyalty was always to the people he loved. His life proves that the real measure of a person isn't in how loudly they speak, but in how deeply they care. Dan Blocker cared with his whole heart. He cared about his family, his co-workers, his craft, and the millions of viewers who welcomed him into their living rooms every week. That's why he is remembered, not just as Haas Cartwright, but as a legend of warmth and a living example of quiet decency. He showed the world that greatness isn't defined by the spotlight, but by the kindness you show consistently, silently, and wholeheartedly. And even though his life was tragically cut short, it was full of meaning, full of love, full of purpose. His story lives on because he didn't just play a beloved character. He lived the very values that character stood for. In the end, he proved something powerful. Sometimes the largest presence on the screen leaves the deepest mark off it. His spirit remains alive in the memories he shaped, the lessons he lived, and the truth he left behind. In this big, complicated world, a gentle giant really can change everything. Thank you for watching this tribute to the unforgettable Dan Blocker. If his story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment about your favorite memory of him. Your support helps keep legends like him alive.